Here we go. 3, 2, 1, clap. 3, 2, 1, clap. 3, 2, 1, clap. 3, 2, 1, clap.
Why do you have
Welcome
to
to the.
slow down all the time, Tom? Okay, start again.
What? No,
Well, start again with welcome.
welcome. Hi. Anyways, I botched the intro, everybody. Okay, we're here. We're gonna go fast.
Hey, they don't know that.
Yeah, they
Just
do.
it
I
again.
can't lie
This
to
is the
them.
best podcast they've ever heard.
I'm not an actor.
Just start it all over.
Joining us tonight. Low energy. Whatever. When FTX goes belly up. Sorry. When FTX went belly up, he had to take an emergency vacation out of the country. It's Steve Koski.
I could tell you exactly how much cash you can put in a check bag, 50 pounds to Aruba, but I'm not going to.
How much did you fit in your prison purse?
No
Not going
comment.
to tell you that either.
That's not the money you buy food with, because then you'll get food poisoning. Dirty hands. His wife heard shots in the basement. To her dismay, he's still alive. It's Robert Wyatt.
Yeah, she's not getting the insurance money this week.
And don't follow him. It's still going to be good. Don't follow him into the restroom, because he's got BDE, bad diarrhea everywhere. It's a shameful Dave Blanton.
That's why I only use Bucky's bathrooms. They clean it up for you. It's fine.
Oh,
The single most glorious truck stop bathroom east of the, let's see, Texas.
They're putting them everywhere. You guys might get lucky and get a Bucky's one day.
Hey, that place is freaking awesome. I mean,
Okay,
you
I have
pull-
no
you
idea
pull
what a
up-
Buc-ee's is. Tom, do you know what Buc-ee's is?
I believe it's some sort of like super convenient store that they have in Texas. It's like a Target with a gas station.
With 100 gas pumps.
literally.
Okay.
Yeah, I got pictures. It's impressive.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, it's fantastic. If you're ever on the road, stop at Bucky's. Doesn't matter if you
Buc-ee's.
need anything, just stop. Check it out.
And then
Gotcha.
make sure you get the what was it, like that brisket sandwich or whatever that they're making.
Pretty good.
Oh, the thing's it's pretty legit.
Pretty
like a
doggone
Wawa.
good.
Yeah,
It's like 4 Wawas put together.
Gotcha.
Probably.
They have their own restaurant.
They do.
land your helicopter and fill up with jet fuel. Do all you can there at Bucky's. Anyways, what we did. I got my Delta Point 6 MOA tan on my Glock 34. Shot a half-inch group at 20 yards. Fantastic. It's a fantastic piece of equipment.
Is that counting all 5 bullets, or is that counting just
Four
the
bullets.
4
No, just
bullets?
his favorite two.
I just
The
fired.
touchdowns.
I fired just my favorite two. Listen,
10,
that's
20. He just kind of crossed out the ones he didn't
I
like.
mean, if I had a nickel for every time I had 4 bullets touching each other, and then I fired the 5th one off into yonder.
oh my gosh, that is like
that
the
happens
flyer.
so many times.
The flyer. It's best if you just don't see them. It's best if you're like. My favorite group is when you think it's 2 where you want and 3 off paper, and then you bring it in. You're like, look at all those touching. Isn't that so good? Isn't this the greatest product we've ever done? Damn, I'm a good reloader. But yeah,
Man, I shot a nationals with a guy who swore he had perfect shots in the Charlie zone. In fact, he called the range master over and said, "I think I have a perfect double right here." I called the 2 Charlies.
well, if you're so good, why are they Charlies? So.
What I asked.
So this little Gen 3 Glock 34 setup that I've silicone carbided and with this Brownell slide milled for a Delta Point Pro. I mean, I love this thing, and like it's literally my oldest serving pistol. And to think that $400 and a new Delta Point on it later, it would just be printing off fantastic groups. And these Brownell barrels, I forget who makes them, Faximum or somebody else, Faxim or somebody else, that pretty name brand makes them for Brownells, and it's pretty good kit. So if you guys are looking to make an upgrade, do that. And so if you even have a Gen 4 or Gen 3 and want a traditional cut barrel, like get one of those Brownells ones. They're cooking. So Steve, Aruba.
I spent a week in Aruba. There's security guards all over the place. None of them are armed, except on the American side of the, what do we call it? Customs.
Yeah.
Once
Did you warn them about
enter-
the guns that you were smuggling into the country? Just the...
yeah, those are cash. So yeah, it's a gun show.
Steve's got to put tattoo barcodes on the backside of each hand. It's like you're gonna have to scan these to let these into the country.
They're
And
lethal
then-
Right.
weapons.
I believe I have to fill out some more paperwork, ma'am.
Start get you. It's a URL to a website you created that has like your face with like lethal weapons on it. Yeah, like-
But I'm pretty sure there are no firearms in Aruba except on the American side, on the American soil there.
Yeah.
Once you get past customs in the airport, I saw 2 Glocks that people were carrying. Other than that, 0.
The
And
one
I loaded a couple bowls full of ammo before I went out of town, and
That's right, because you don't have stacks of ammunition in the closet anymore.
I got stacks of components. I need it to self-assemble.
That's what you get for not reloading for like 2 years. Where's all this?
So lazy.
Where are these bullets? They be gone. Robert,
Oh, I didn't do much. I
you
I went-
popped off into the basement. Let's explain this.
well, so we were kind of curious if a hammer.
Set it up properly. Why were we curious about it, Robert?
Okay. So there I was. She didn't look like a cop, but anyway. So in a chat group, Dave and I are in. Dave, just stop me if I'm describing it wrong. But Dave posits that it's safer that we should allow DASA gun to be dropped to half cock instead of all the way down, and so we kind of went back and forth on it, and then it came up that we're wondering what happened to that dude in New York who got shot by a falling CZ, and one thing led to another, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna take my CZ and mount it up in a vise, and I took a primed case, threw it in there, and then I took just one of my little my armor's hammers with the Delrin inside, and I just whacked it. I mean, not very hard or nothing like that, but I whacked it
on a forward,
on a
completely
full-
rested
hammer down.
hammer.
Fully hammered
down
down.
hammer.
On a
fully down.
CZ Shadow
Shadow
2.
2.
The Shadow 2 does not have a firing pin block, and
Uh-huh.
it went off. And I kind of figured that it would, and so I shared it with Dave and the guys in the group, and then we started talking a little bit more, and it's like, okay, well, my particular firing pin it's an extended firing pin with the Rammy firing pin springs in it, and so it's like, okay, well, let's see what happens if I put the OEM one back in there, because the OEM firing pin is a little bit shorter and the springs a little bit stiffer and longer, and so we put that in there, and I same amount of force. It's like bro science kind of thing, but the same amount of force on the hammer. And it didn't go up. I hit it 3 times, and then just to make sure, I pulled the hammer back, pulled the trigger on it, and it of course pops off. And so it certainly gives the word be credibility to the idea that Shadow 2 in New York dropped, hit the ground, hammer first, and then whatever you call that, the inertia, the force, whatever, would have set an actual live round off. And so it's certainly an interesting thing to happen.
Yeah, so the kinetically fired off of the charge on the back of the hammer.
Yeah, it's like those.
When you drop
those
a 3-pound gun onto the ground with circular momentum,
With
because it probably was spiraling out of the holster.
Well, this is
100%, Dave. And I actually made a point when I was hitting that thing. I wasn't like winding up like a baseball. I was just hitting it.
No, it was straight from your wrist. I mean, it didn't look. It's a small hammer too. It's not like it's a big heavy hammer you hit it with.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a
it's
little
almost
punch
nothing.
hammer.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not much at all.
So a CZ Shadow 2 is not drop safe?
Not with an extended firing
No, it's
pin.
just in firing frame.
Ooh.
So
So
this
we've been taking our lives into our own hands, hanging out with all these slack-jawed Shadow 2 shooters every week.
well, David, none of them are reckless enough to mess with their triggers.
Oh, surely not. Surely not. I mean, why would they do something like that?
Well,
That's
this-
just clearly.
Hang on, Andrew, I'm coming.
I mean, this.
Like, how many of them have talked trash about SIGs in the meantime? It's like, oh, your gun is a grenade waiting to go off as well, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just gonna go to the range next time and put the gun hammer down, or just like this, and go bam, 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 bam.
and so one of the main issues with this thing, so like, so you have a 3-pound gun, and let's say we dropped it up from 4.5 feet up in the air, and it lands on the hammer or whatnot, like that. Like, even if it was in factory configuration, would it have enough energy to set off with the
In
factory
factory
springs?
The factory configuration, the gun doesn't go off.
Yeah, because I would
You got to
imagine.
have the extended
okay.
firing pin.
To be fair, I didn't hit it with the same amount of force
Yep.
that I did with the other one. I was trying very hard to be fair that way. If somebody had like a way to do it all scientific, like I'm sure they could, but again, this is bro science. And I hit it 3 times, and honestly, the last time I hit it, I probably gave it a little bit more oomph, and it didn't go off. And it didn't really surprise me because it's a shorter firing pin. That spring is much more stout, but there you go. And so it's interesting to me. Am I going to change anything? Absolutely not. I mean, I don't see this as being an issue.
It's a liability only when you're holstering the gun at the beginning of a stage, because I mean, after that first shot, the hammer's locked back anyway.
Oh, that's true.
So, but at the same time, like I think on a turf field or gravel pit or something like that, it probably the ground would be so soft that it wouldn't become an issue. But
yeah, I'd be more concerned about
indoor range
debris getting into the trigger itself and lighting that. But that you couldn't stop that with any gun, to be fair.
Yeah, but at the indoor range, which is where I think that New York
that's actually what I understood it to be too, dude.
Yeah, so it is a liability in that regard. But I mean, I've got a Beretta 92X Performance in my hand right now. It's got a firing pin block. The Tanfo I was shooting, a couple weeks ago, it's got a firing pin block. So it's like the CZ Shadow 2 is like the only one of the big popular guns that has that problem.
Right, the Shadow as well, because the Shadow didn't have a
Shadow as well, correct.
And we're afraid to put firing pin blocks in guns. I know CZ has mastered this dark art. In other pistols, but what is the thing that they just don't want to have a hint of a?
It's more mechanical parts to fail.
And in fairness, the CZ firing pin block sucks.
Yeah,
like if you dry fire it without a snap cap, you'll shatter the firing pin retaining pin because they don't use a stop plate design like the Shadow 2 version does.
100%. Yeah, and CZ Custom came out with a solid rod that would go through it to try and prevent that, but now you're beating on your firing pin. So it's not a great solution. It's just it is a solution. And I actually did. I brought my SPO1 in, and I hit that one as well, and the firing pin in that is sufficient enough to not allow the gun to go, or the hammer firing pin to impact the primed case. I didn't have loaded rounds. That'd be crazy.
And the perfect thing to stop this would be a half cock position, because that's what it's meant to do.
There's 2 arguments there, and people who can't see our stream, I think it's going to be on Tom's YouTube channel. Yeah. So, I mean, this is a gun that has a firing pin block. I'm holding a Beretta 92X Performance carry optic. If I want to decock the hammer USPSA condition, I have to send it all the way home with the trigger pulled all the way. All of these guns, including the CZs, if I just pull the trigger, let it go forward a little bit, then release it, I can let it go entirely, and it falls to half cock position. So it's a much safer and more idiot-proof way. Or another way is if I just do the thumb block, let it fall on my hand, and pull my thumb out of the way, it'll always fall to half cock. So it's a safer solution as far as, I mean, just at the North Texas Open, I was squatted with a GM in carry optics who got sent home because his hammer slipped at make ready on like the 3rd stage we shot, and he sent one into like a barrel or something. Yeah.
And this is one of the conversations that Dave and I kind of have back and forth is, to me, you're still touching the hammer, and you're still touching the hammer and the trigger together. So I mean, like what Dave is suggesting is correct, where it's, because I actually played with it a little bit, and it's like, yeah, I mean, if you trigger it just a little bit, then it's going to drop in there, which infinitely is safer. I like the idea of not having. I like the Berettas, right? You press a lever on the side, and that decocks the gun. I know. That's actually why I don't like that particular gun.
Robert, why do you put the extended firing pin in it?
Because
run this risk anyway.
Because it gives me greater reliability with lighter weight springs.
Okay. So should this just be a disallowed unsafe? It sounds like an unsafe modification, right? If you can, if the gun's not drop safe anymore. Well, it is if the gun's not drop safe anymore.
It's
a
not
1911 isn't drop safe.
Is the
they should be.
Well,
Well, they have
most
like
1911s.
Series 70, right?
Series 70s guns can be dry safe. They use a heavier firing pin return spring, and they use a lighter firing pin so that they can actually drop. Now, what we're talking about is like the CZ7, the Shadow 2 is drop safe until you do these things with it. And then they're not even drop safe when you have the hammer down, because even in your own words, with the light flick of a wrist, we can set those things off. Half cock position, if we are allowed to sit there and start with a half cock position, then you would have a lot better of an argument, because the sear would technically be holding the middle strut, that middle notch in that hammer, and prevent it from going forward. So it wouldn't
If
be
it
making
falls on the hammer, it's not going to transfer anything to the firing pin.
correct, because it doesn't have a full enough stroke to do it, even if it slipped off from the half cock position. So
yeah, and I still contend that you're touching the hammer.
and
there's no perfect solution outside of a decocker lever or something like that.
Yeah, well, a decocker lever, I mean, I struggle to understand how much better of performance we get by not having decockers and not having firing pin blocks in the year of our Lord 2022.
Well,
the only time you can tell when you have two side-by-side guns, and one has a firing pin block that has to be moved out of the way, and the other one doesn't, and the trigger feels better.
Yeah, the trigger feels infinitely better without a firing pin block.
Well,
between a
and a tuned Beretta, I mean, both of those can. I mean, a tuned Tanfo is still drop safe and has an active firing pin block, and you can make the trigger about as good as you can on CZ with all the go fast parts. The Berettas are the same way. I mean, the double action, in my opinion, is a little bit better on the Berettas, and the single action can be made almost as good as the CZ. The only thing I say almost and not as good is because there's more slack. Like, I mean, with the single action, I've got that much slack to get to the wall,
right,
whereas the CZ trigger just like wiggles.
And the
Beretta other
Berettas,
issue with the SPO1, and I can only speak to the SPO1, is with the firing pin, damn it, what do they call it? The cross pin in there. The problem with that is, as Dave mentioned, it does eventually shatter, and it dumps it all down into the firing pin channel, which basically renders
It'll
the gun.
seize up your firing pin, is what
yeah.
happens. The gun will stop working,
which is a problem. And so, mechanically, it's just another part to fail.
yeah, but all we're talking about,
So it's a bad design.
It is a bad design.
It's a
bad
design.
design.
That's what you can say.
It's a bad old design.
It is a bad design, yeah, for sure.
And so we are talking about
the Tanfolio. Sorry, Tommy, go ahead.
We are talking about minimizing the safety of pistols for the feel of something, for the slight edge of the 5% of a feel.
Yeah, it seems like it's an unsafe gun, unsafe firearm. Range master should have it removed from the range.
So yeah,
so like a third of the shooters in the match would be removed, because that's like a third of carry optic shoot shadows.
Well,
yeah, functionally though, at the end of the day, folks, this is literally like misleading vividness, because
a guy died.
Because a guy died.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
It's really not. I mean, a lot of people.
It's not a potential problem. It's a dead guy.
It's an already done so.
But that's the problem. I mean, it comes back to how many kids have to die before you support gun control. And in my way, I agree with Austin Peterson. All of them.
Well, like now we're talking like fundamental human rights of being able to defend yourself. And should you have a firing pin block in your? Well, not even if you should have a firing pin block. Should you run a configuration that's drop safe in a sport? Volunteer sport.
Question.
But you're running around with a firearm, the gun's loaded, and you have all these other potential problems, but we're going to focus on this one little problem. Why don't we also focus on every single one?
If you drop that same gun, you drop that same gun with the hammer cocked back in single action, and it's fine.
It's safer.
It's not going to go off.
It's safer.
In single action with a 2-pound trigger than
so
it is
what?
a double action.
So who cares? It doesn't matter. The gun should be drop safe in any configuration.
I mean, it's only been a standard for everyone except for this kind of competition setup that's there. Like, we have a problem now with the CP320s. We got 20 people suing SIG again because these things are just uncommanded firing. And how are they allowed to uncommand fire? It's because the firing pin block, while the safety there, doesn't actually act as a firing pin block on a precock striker. Anyways, David, you got that your impression of the 92G Super Tactical, whatever, Beretta. The Elite.
I picked it up yesterday, so I haven't even shot the thing yet. I'm trying to mount a dot on it. I got an RTS2 8 MOA dot to put on there to see how I like that compared to the 10 MOA I put on the Tanfo
I
for
love
that
this.
one.
10.
10
Right.
inches. 10 inches at 10 point.
It went from
11
big dad energy to big dot energy.
I think it's, I think
All
it's,
of it.
It takes all that energy out of that CR 2032.
Right.
and perceptually, it's the gigantic beach ball at 100 yards. But like, I don't know. Like everyone wants them to look around. Now, David, me and you had the same thing when we had the 92X RDO and the M9A4, which was we put the Beretta plate on it. We screwed it on. I did not have great accuracy out of mine. And then I could not remove the screws because they're hex screws. They're trash. I had to use tappets and destroy the screws while removing them, while they also used some absurd screw pattern. Now,
Right.
the year later, has the aftermarket solved this, or has Beretta solved this problem?
The aftermarket has solved it. The 92X carry optic comes with these Tony system plates now. But in fairness, they're better plates than what Beretta was doing. They're thinner gauge, and they're variable. There's a similar plate that the Tanfo comes with, where it comes with like each plate is like Swiss cheese, and
The
there's these little
universal
posts.
plates. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can mount bunch of different
Yeah, you put your little boss pins in wherever you need them to based on the optic you're using, and each plate can take like 5 or 6 different optic footprints, which is kind of cool. So that's a really good solution, because a lot of these people are like, well, I have to give you like 17 plates. It's like, why don't you just give them one plate with these mountable posts, and they could take 2 or 3 screw holes to mount whatever. So I mean, like the Canic comes with like 7 optics plates versus 1 or 2 universal plates with the pins.
Yeah.
So,
and then you go down the Glock with the MOS system, where it's like, what was that over there? It's like, this plate used to be a Buick, and they're like, thank God, smash it down, make plates out of that thing, and then you get like
you get warped plates,
plates, all that jazz. So my problem with the Beretta is that where the plate actually screws into the gun, there's not a lot of room there between the top of the slide and the firing pin channel. And so you get like this 3 little threads that kiss in to hold that plate. So it's just like, look at your teeth. And then if you want to get one of those really obscene teeth jobs where they file the bottoms of the top of your teeth to make them perfectly flat, that's about as much threading as my 92X had to get in there. So
yeah, for the life of me, I don't understand. Well, I know why they didn't, but I can't believe they didn't just go to Ernest Langdon and license his idea, because it's
I had
really
heard
good.
that they approached him about it and he wouldn't do it.
Screw him then.
But
well,
I don't know that to be true.
If they came up with something, but the other thing is, like, Langdon's got it. That's how people send guns to Langdon. And honestly, a lot of the my experience with my 92X Centurion as an iron-sighted pistol, it is 95% of the gun that you spend 3 times as much money on.
Oh yeah,
the
new Berettas are nuts, man. The new M9A4 that I've got, well, I say it's new, it's a year old now, but M9A4 is not a far cry from the single action is about a pound heavier and has slightly more over travel, but the double action isn't wildly different.
They've never been better and cheaper and more feature rich than the 92s are now.
Yeah.
And you actually get models. I always loved the back in the day when they had 14 models of 92s on their website, and you could only find 2 in stores or on the internet. Those were the days, Beretta. It was like that tree that Jesus killed because it looked like it was bearing fruit but had nothing. That was Beretta USA. You want to eat sausages?
That's what she said.
Okay. Day number 4? Okay.
Well, I'll keep talking while Tom messes around. So the other thing is I went to the range yesterday shooting a couple of these carry optic of the future guns.
Oh my gosh.
2011s with slide ride optics, baby.
Ooh.
So, yeah. I'll show you guys.
I miss the color brown.
And tell us what it is for the audio crowd too.
Well, that was the Masterpiece Arms DS9 Hybrid IDPA compliant. That's a really awesome name, isn't it? Sounds like somebody
Yeah, it
else.
is.
Yeah. But this, my friends, is a Nighthawk President double stack with their iOS optic cut. I forget what iOS stands for, but this is actually a really cool optic cut because what they do is they've got like a tapered rib at the back of the gun, like running longitudinal with the slide. So the plates actually slide on from the back, and then there's a cross pin that holds them on and a set screw that keeps it captured. So you can remove the optic at the range with like an Allen key and a small like punch, and slide on optics and switch between them and not lose zero. Because I'm assuming that it's a amazing fit. But yeah,
all for the low cost of how many thousands?
This is a 64 as configured with the RMR is a $6,400 gun. If you don't have the RMR sent to it, it's only about $5,600.
Dave has turned into the industry man. He literally said something like the car salesman would say, "As configured." This is like you've been in the business, but he's on too many emails.
Well, this is, I mean, I wrote my script for it earlier today. I'll record the proper video later tonight. But this one thing that is interesting about this gun is it has a traditional barrel profile of a 1911 with a bushing. So it has a short guide rod and a tapered, a thin barrel, as opposed to kind of the thick bull barrels that everybody else is doing. So it's only a 35-ounce gun, which is kind of cool. It looks like a 1911 as opposed to just kind of the full rail thing that everybody's doing, because like there's like basically the STI Edge set the aesthetics for what every 2011 was going to be. And so to have like a short railed version is kind of cool. It makes it balance a little bit better, moves the balance back over the trigger guard a little bit, because the Masterpiece Arms is similar. It's got a shorter rail, and I actually like the shorter rails better than the longer rails in the dust cover. But cool guns.
Hats off to Steve's profession, because a lot of guys got these optics and they're like, how are we going to get this on a gun? And then like, we'll drill 2 holes from the top down. And they're like, that's an idea. And then like literally people who have saved millions of lives, no one has saved more lives than engineers. They went like, how about we cut a channel in the back, we slide it in, we put a cross pin in there so it's always zeroed. And they were like, there's an idea. We can do that. Thank you, engineers. Thank you for clean water. Thank you for heating.
That has irons forward co-witness sights.
Who would want
like
that?
It sinks the optic down so well. Yeah, you mean like that on your gun?
Yes.
Right. It sinks the optic down so low that it's like standard height sights. So it's a pretty cool setup. But again, you pay all the money for it. It is a industry gun. Or a T&E gun, so I'll be sending it back in a couple weeks when I finish my video with it. But the fun part, and this will be in the video, here's a spoiler, is I did use it in my appendix carry holster, which I do. So I'm making a joke about it being dangerously close to my crotch. So the people who go to these trade shows will be finger banging a gun that has
been
ridden
dangerously
around
close to your shot.
next around to my balls.
Has
That's
Big
right.
Dad energy smeared all
That's
over.
right. Big Dad. That's right.
Hey, David, do me a favor for your video. Put it in a vise. Press the
Safety?
the grip
Hammer?
safety in. Put the hammer down and hit it with the back of a hammer and see if it goes off.
For all of the people listening along at home, Tom just moved his thumb at us, just wiggled it at us for like 10 seconds while you're sitting there like, did the audio cut out? No, it's just Tom wiggling his thumb
I'm just
at
trying
us.
to figure. I'm just mildly not there. Just go, because if it doesn't go off, we know instantly the trigger's not good. So remember, if it doesn't go off in a vise, that trigger's trash. You can't shoot it. It's not going to be fast. You're not going to be any good. Also, if you want more trash, head on over to Telegram. Search PARAcast. You can join us. You can ask us questions. If you want non-trash, Dominate Defense. I got my jacket on. I got the shirt on. When I'm at home, I'm a company man. So check out. Sad thing is I can't wear my belt. I had to break out the shooter's connection and put my gear on the shooter's connection because I'm all out of adjustments, and I don't have the heart to ask Jason for another belt.
Go eat a Twinkie, fatty.
I can't ask Jason for another belt because he just sent me
hold
that
on,
one.
you got too fat or too thin? Which way
too thin. I ran out of the adjustment. I've lost 6.5 inches off my waistline.
Well, good for
Damn.
you.
So I
Way to go,
can't.
Tom.
I tried cranking. I got it the first day, and Tyrell Kelsey with his 48-inch ass was sitting in my living room, and I was like, this is. If I plan on losing weight, I'm gonna run out of room on this thing quick. And he's like, it's fine. So I gave him my old one. So he has the one that possibly still could fit me, and I got this hula hoop that's hanging up in the closet now. But if you want a great belt, stay fat and head on over to dominatedefense.com. Use promo code PARA10 and save 10% off your order. Precision holsters, fast holsters, the gear, the pouches, fantastic. 10% using the same code. And check out Aaron Lawson's Rune Tactical. Get +1 for that emergency.
Mm-hmm.
Use the same promo code, save 10% off. Also, check out Dave Blanche on Humble Marksman. Check out his other stuff, Arrogant Marksman.
The Arrogant Marksman is much better.
Yeah. Screw the Humble Marksman. That guy sucks.
That guy sucks. Anyways, questions, maybe answers.
Sometimes.
Bob,
Hey, from Dirk Hopkins. If you're shooting carry optics, how many magazines do you wear on average? 3 or 4?
Well, I am in the big stick in the gun, big stick for the first reload, 17 rounder for the backup, so just two on the well, there's this rule, it's like we have a limited amount of rounds per stage, so it can't really go that bad.
Not a slips anymore. 34 round stages, 36 round stages.
Like I love gear. Like I really love gear, but like 24 and 23, that's 57, right? Am I correct? Or 47? What am I talking about?
47.
Anyways, 47. 47 plus 17, 64, right? 64 rounds. That's almost twice as much as the stage will allow. I'm not that bad.
And I shoot limited mine in the same way. 2 big mags and a factory capacity.
I just use 3 140s because I figure if the reload is going to screw up, I want to have the same capacity in whatever I'm trying to replace it with. But yeah, I unless it's a multi-string stage with mandatory reloads, I'll step to the line with 2 on the belt, 1 in the gun.
Yep.
And if it's a 2-string stage with a mandatory reload, I'll have 3 on the belt, 1 in the gun.
I'm 100% with Dave. Exactly like him.
Yep. If I get another extended base plaids or whatever, right now I'm running 2 24s and a Magpul 21 round. So 124 on the gun, 124 on the belt, 21 round Magpul right behind it.
If you quit spending all your money on Brownell's parts, you can afford more base pads, Tom.
Seriously, dude.
Listen, I love Brownell's parts and Magpul PMags. You can't shake me from it, David. You can't shake
just
me.
like that, they sponsored the PARAcast.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so like that's what I do. Like if you have the idea that you need a 45-ounce gun or a 50-ounce gun to run around and shoot this sport, then 40 you might want to have like the other part would be like the sports car analogy, so like there's no replacement for displacement in the pistol, and then you might want to have everything else lighter. So having an extra 48 rounds on your belt might not help. But
I just bring all the weight.
anyways.
From JC, how do you determine what recoil spring weight to use on striker fired guns?
Whatever comes in it. If that's the thing that's holding your gun in battery because it doesn't have any sort of locking lug, why roll the dice on having premature unlocking? Like you can go down a little bit, but I mean, even SIGs have issues if you go too light with it with early unlocking.
I'm with Dave here.
As most women will tell you, nobody likes premature unlocking.
No matter how long the barrel is. So
I feel like we just made a penis joke, guys. Am I tracking with that?
Not on this show. Diarrhea only jokes this week. So the one thing is with like the way that Brian Nelson explained it to me at the Tactical Performance Center, me, Robert, and Steve went down and took this class 5 years ago, was when the gun returns, you just basically want the gun to return at the same point with that stance and with that ammo and load. So if the gun ends up high, you go heavier. If the gun ends up, if it settles too low, you can have a lighter spring. And so you just kind of want to do that. I think what happens is when everybody looks like Kenny Terry, he's freaking strong. and he's big, and he can run a 10-pound, 11-pound string and return that gun like a madman. I don't have that. So generally, like a lot of times that I'm doing, if the factory doesn't get me there, I've actually bought 2 pounds higher than the factory sometimes to get the gun to return better. And so there's a way to play around with it. But like what Dave was saying is like, a lot of the guns are pretty good from the factory now. And like that spring weight is there for a reason. Makes the gun run, keeps the stuff in battery. And if you're not a fan of 8-inch patterns, then maybe not mess around with it too much.
From Doug Dalsky, what is everyone's opinion of Slide Ride 2011s being added to CO? Will it really break the division more than the giant thumb rests and ultra heavy guns that already dominate the market?
Dave is dual wielding 2 of them.
No, well, I mean, I put the Nighthawk back in its case, but yeah, I still have the Masterpiece Arms DS9 with the lovely red grip.
That is pretty.
It's awesome, but I mean, my personal opinion is I think that this provisional limited optics everybody's rumoring is basically going to get shoehorned in to carry optics after a 3-year provisional period.
Good.
Because people are going to realize there's not really that big a difference, and you might as well just put them together. That's what I think is going to happen.
What will be the fallout of that?
I don't think there will be one after 3 years of people realizing the scores are the same.
The what you can do with your gun is so jacked up at this point. We basically become open again. We become slide right open, except for don't have a magwell
or compensator. Yeah,
like don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're effing
I'm drawing
serious.
the line over there.
Yeah, it's like, listen, you can be with 4 guys, but not 5 or 6.
But what's funny is this gun is more drop safe than Robert Shadow 2, which is on the list.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
Costs more too.
The name of the show this week will be Shorter and Safer. But like, it's getting like we're gonna have all these guys, and these guys are gonna come in with their 2011s. It's going to be more fun, and not only is it going to be more fun, it is going to prove the point over and over to the tactical community. I don't know if, well, to the wise, the word to the wise will be: it does not matter if you are shooting this or what David has in your hand. It comes down to the guy behind the gun. And
there's a little part of me, and I guess it's, I don't know, it'd be just Spite or Schadenfreude or something like that, that all of these 2011 companies who derided the carry optics division are now suddenly coming back because they found that they can actually, have a gun. Now they're trying to actually open up the division for their gun because they're also noticing that their 2011 sales are going in the toilet because nobody actually wants to shoot a stupid iron-sighted gun anymore. Well, I mean, I just see that as a thing. But functionally, do I see a difference between, like, I mean, honestly, is there a difference between this Shadow 2 and Dave's Masterpiece Arms, like, in shooting? No, not one freaking difference. You have one reload during the entire stage, and you usually have enough time to do that, so the magwell issue isn't really a thing. I mean, golly, even people like the new shooters who come out, they're like, well, I got a magwell on my gun. I'm like, so? It doesn't mean anything. I mean, the guns are so tricked and tuned these days that, I mean, I have a trigger that's better than most 1911s. So what's the difference fundamentally? They've opened this thing up so wide that I can do anything I want to the Shadow 2. And now we're saying that, well, we can't have the Shadow 2, or we can't have these 2011s, which are functionally identical other than it, the 2011 starts with its hammer back. There's no difference. I mean, I mean, after that first shot is fired, it's the same gun.
I think
I could be wrong.
Steve?
I'm wondering if the single action guns will just take over the sport, and we'll just see no more double action guns in
I don't
5
think
years.
so.
I think for the hipsters who are looking to absolutely have what's cool, I think it will be. The one thing that puzzles my mind beyond anything else is that the 2011 people, man, they're pulling the wool over everybody's eyes, because not only are they throwing optics on these guns and chambering them all in 9mm, but they have managed to sell people on basically 40 caliber and 45 like long frames and shoving shorter cartridges in them. only like a small handful of companies like Wilson Combat have actually made 1911s designed around the 9mm cartridge. And so it's just like, here's the new hotness. Guess what? It has this crazy long stroke. The magazine has to be set up so it can get this little bullet over a longer road to get into the chamber, and it's still $6,000, and they get to sell you the same frame and the same slide and just come up with a different barrel. Like it
You're-
is like Shadow
You're
2,
always-
the
You're
Shadow
always
2
going to have
that's built around the damn cartridge at least.
you're always going to have people that are going to want Shadow 2 or a 2011 because that's what they like and that's what they have fun with, and they show up to the range, and that makes them happy. But there's no denying that at the end of the day, this Shadow 2 is no better than that Canik rival. And
once the steel frame one comes out, it's going to be like,
it's going to be, yeah. I mean, it's that much better of a gun. And I have never once in my life recommended a brand new shooter who's like looking at like, what's the first gun? Because I really want to play this game for a long time. I have never told anybody to get a Shadow 2 as their first real competition gun. I'm like, you need to go take a strong look at the Caniks or a Glock because they just represent the best value and return on investment. And I still believe that.
Yeah, well, the one thing that's the great thing is like, unlike in some of the rifle companies and other firearms out there, it is very hard to hit like a bad pistol. I mean, I try to stay up on Dave's channel with every review you put out, and I give you a thumbs up,
Yeah, me
David.
too.
I appreciate that.
I don't really see any shit guns. Like, I don't really see like anything that can't group. Like most of them can group okay. Most of them do all right. You get some of those ones that like have the, what was that? That's who made it? Rock Island Armory that literally had the gun held together by a screw in the grip. Like that one's pretty trash. But like it's very hard for me to sit there and remember what's going on. And not only do we find out that some of these guns are having issues, like the SIG P320, very much farther into their life with a wide variety of guys using them. And then, 5 years in, we find out Robert's gun's not drop safe. Stuff like that pops up every once in a while.
We've
the,
always
one
known
thing,
that.
the one thing I think a steel frame gun has going for it is even over an alloy frame, a steel frame gun will hold together better in the long term. So if you want to buy like a gun, like a piece of sporting equipment and use it for 5 or 10 years, like there are still guys shooting like 20-year-old open guns that have like hundreds of thousands of rounds on them.
I would say that the Flex and the Glocks and stuff like that might have it because, I mean, Steve had Glocks that you shot for 10 years.
What did the bottom of his magwell look like?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is the bottom of the magwell. Because like with sacrificial parts like a bolt-on magwell, you can just swap that out and it's a $60 piece versus like, okay, got to do a stamp and get a $200 frame or whatever.
Or you just buy the $20 magwell and put it on the bottom of your Glock.
And not be allowed to compete in our sport because we don't allow magwells.
We're living in a world where your gun gets the magwell too and's in the same sort. Don't try to range lawyer this shit. Anyways, next question.
What are your thoughts on lowering 9mm major down to 150 to 155 power factor range and then allowing this new major into limited division? I say we get rid of major altogether.
I think as a game mechanic, major scoring has a place because like what's going to be the difference between carry optics that's minor and limited optics that's minor? Nothing really. With open, the aiming strategy is different because of major, and having that different aiming strategy on like what you can accept as a sight picture makes it faster. So I think there's a place for that game mechanic, whether it's because it's spicier ammo or not. Like I don't know. I think that having it be closer to Sammy's spec allows factory manufacturers to come play. Like if you can give, I mean, Phil at SIG told me straight up, he's like, if you can give me a lower major power factor, like we will make an open gun. Like if you can give me anything that's within either Sammy or CIP specs, then we'll make a gun for it.
I'm not sure how well I take to that because we gave them the low end and they couldn't even get that right. So, like,
kind of got a point there.
Mass ammunition,
but it's certified ammo. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Was it 122? It's got a certificate.
They pay their blood money to USPSA, so now their ammo's cool.
No,
Just ask Max.
It does make a lot of sense, but like this is the push to just like make it more 9mm. 40's not a broken cartridge. It's just harder to find and harder to shoot. I'm sorry, like
It's a
to
dead cartridge. I mean, objectively, it's a dead cartridge. Take our
yes.
game out of the equation, and what major element is still using the 40 other
Not
than the
much.
people who still own them and they're just running out the clock on them?
Yep. No,
It's just a dead and dying cartridge. It's like the 41 Magnum. It's a
Yeah.
niche round now, and I say that begrudgingly because I just bought a Glock 22, but I bought the Glock 22 because I own a lot of 40 Smith and Wesson, and I just want to use it all up before I then get rid of the Glock 22.
Yep. No, it's a good cartridge, and there's places to use it. I think I don't think like we're having this thing where we're like just trying to smash everything into the middle, and like that'll be great for competition, but eventually I think we'll get a little bit too close. And I do believe that. So
That's fine.
this division
That's
be
fine.
that division.
I'm not. I don't have a strong preference other than the people who are clamoring for the 9mm major. Generally speaking, are the same ones who are having a hard time trying to get people to buy their really expensive 2011s.
Yeah, and when it gets down to that 9mm major that you can fit in a standard 9mm cartridge, you know what they're going to do? Put it in a 45 caliber frame and charge you $4,000. Thanks,
Possibly.
guys.
Yeah, but it'll have a ramped barrel.
Well, thank goodness. Thank goodness they spent the extra $15 in manufacturing to cut down the frame and pin that ramp barrel in.
I know. It's a big deal.
All right, last question from Josh Zalwig. What are the secrets to building a successful USPSA club that is a funnel for new membership and puts on well-run matches with quality stages?
The secrets of success.
Number one, don't try and do it all on your own, because that'll last about a year and then you will burn out and you will never come back and be a match director again. You have to figure out how to delegate responsibilities. I have a very small club that I do all the match directing for, and I can handle it, but there has been a number of times where I'm just like, I am done. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then, inevitably
You rub
everybody
some
has
dirt
fun.
on it, and you get back in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's hard to make any club last beyond just a few people.
Yeah.
You've got to get folks to really step in.
So good management skills.
Good people skills. You have to be able to like be a visionary for the match, and that kind of comes in two flavors. Like number one, you have to be committed to doing something like excellent and being able to articulate what that is. Like, this is the best match in the area, so we don't just do anything. It's got to be really good, and this is what makes it really good. And then
Right.
number two is like, hey, buddy, I'm really glad to see you out here for your third match. Have you thought about coming and help? As a match director, your match day responsibilities, because you're so awesome at delegating, need to become recruitment at that point. Like you get to the range first, you set out all the big heavy props to where people can get to them based on the bays they're doing using the Ranger or whatever. And so that their job is as easy as possible. You want to make the volunteers who are actually nailing the spikes in the ground as easy as possible. One of those spike
100%.
guns y'all talked about is a good thing to do. And then at that point, once everybody has what they need, just go around and introduce yourself to the new shooters and figure out what their deal is. And just be like, well, we're really glad you're here. If you want, come back next month. And it'd be great if you could help us build these stages. Oh, you're interested. Oh, this is your second month. Well, like, have you thought about drawing stages? Like, you have to push it on people. Don't be pushy about it, but you have to at least give them the ask of like, this is something that you could do, and I'm here to help you do it.
Just like whatever. Like I'm not a big club guy, but here's my thought for people starting clubs. The money that you would invest in steel targets and putting them out there, invest in putting stages down faster. So those electric hammers to nail in spikes, better equipment for putting down nails, better equipment for posting stuff up, having screw guns, stuff like that. Having that stuff out there so that matches can be put down on the ground sooner and faster with less dynamic targets at the beginning might be a better way of approaching it than instead of trying to get every piece of steel that you can for the club.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
so
is that it?
yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, downloading, subscribing. Thanks for check out Dave's channel, Humble Marksman on YouTube. Give him a like on every video, even if you don't like the video. So, like when he says the Tanfo's
Appreciate you guys.
the Tanfo's better, it's true. Anyways, thanks you all for that and the Swamp Fox Kraken. I don't know about that thing. Anyways, thanks for downloading and subscribing. For Steve Koski, Robert Wyatt, the departed Kenny Terry, he's somewhere else. He's not dead. And Dave Blanton,
Yeah.
I'm Tom Nelson, bidding you peace, love, and souls. We depart into the open waters of the Sea of Life on a little podcast we like to call the tugboat. We like to call it PARAcast.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Toot,
Good night,
toot,
everybody.
Kenny. There we go.
Nice.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, boys. It's been fun.
Yeah, just upload your stuff to Dropbox's